Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Now, the final day of the two-day nuclear summit is underway in Washington, D.C. A short time ago, U.S. President Barack Obama spoke about the nuclear deal with Iran, which did not send a delegation to Washington for the summit.
All of our differences with Iran, including destabilizing activities in the region. Except for limited exceptions, the U.S. trade embargo on Iran remains in place. We also continue to vigorously enforce sanctions pertaining to Iran's support for terrorism, human rights abuses, and ballistic missile programs. That's U.S. policy. But what this group, that doesn't agree on all aspects of policy, does agree on, is that this deal has achieved a substantial success and focused on the dangers of nuclear proliferation in an effective way.
Well, for more on the nuclear summit, VOA State Department correspondent Pam Dockins joins me live from the conference in Washington, D.C. Pam, what are world leaders hoping to accomplish during the summit?
Well, President Obama has warned world officials not to become complacent when it comes to nuclear security. Officials are hoping to walk away with a broad game plan on nuclear security, and they're hoping that this will include provisions such as efforts to minimize the misuse of highly enriched uranium and also steps to deal with nuclear smuggling. Now, all of this is part of a broad plan that President Obama first laid out in Prague back in 2009. This is now his fourth and final summit. Not all of the countries here have met their goals, but there is hope that work will continue going forward on meeting some of those goals.
Now, how have the terrorist attacks in Brussels and the ongoing provocation from North Korea impacted this summit?
They've heightened the sense of urgency when it comes to nuclear security. There were reports that two of the brothers who are linked to the attacks in Brussels were also part of a plot to get information about a nuclear site in that country. And also, this summit has come at a time of increased provocations from North Korea. Some of those have been directed against the United States and South Korea. And also, North Korea has increased its nuclear and ballistic missile tests.
Now, we know that Russian President Vladimir Putin is not at the summit. He has attended in the past. Why is he not at the summit?
Well, this is part of a broader issue. There have been heightened tensions between the United States and Russia on some issues, the situation in Syria and also the situation in Ukraine. But State Department officials have pointed out that Russia has been cooperative with the U.S. on other issues, such as the Iran nuclear plan.
Now, we know 50 leaders coming together. Are there any other issues that probably are being discussed on the sidelines?
Absolutely. Both President Obama and Secretary of State Kerry have had bilats with officials on a wide range of issues on the sidelines of the summit. And those have been issues ranging from climate change to trade. There was also a talk earlier today concerning the Iran nuclear deal, and progress is made since the deal was implemented.
Pam, thank you very much for your reporting. Well, Pam Dockins, a VOA State Department correspondent, reporting live from the nuclear summit here in Washington. More now on the nuclear security summit. A few African heads of state are attending the summit. Among them, Gabonese President Ali Bongo Ondimba, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, Algeria's Prime Minister Abdelmalek Salal, as well as representatives from South Africa and Egypt. Well, let's get the African perspective on the nuclear summit. Africa 54's Esther Githui-Ewart joins us live from the Capitol Hill. Hi, Esther.
Hi, Vincent. Actually, the concern, Africa should be concerned, from what I'm hearing here, is that there should be a grave concern as to where nuclear and radioactive materials end up. If you look at Africa, and you mentioned that the Gabonese president is here, he actually spoke to the Voice of America's French to Africa service, and he was asked the question of why is he here, should we be concerned? And the answer that he gave, I was able to listen to a little bit of that interview, and he says his country, Gabon, on has uranium. And the question is, for the countries of Africa that have uranium, which can be used to make dirty bombs, like even Niger and countries like Central African Republic or even the Democratic Republic of Congo, is whether they are complying with the IAEA regulations. But he says his country decides and goes along with the regulations and procedures of the International Atomic Energy Agency to decide who they should sell the uranium to and where this ends up. And that is to make the countries safe, to make the international community safe. And so there's that concern. When you look at Central Africa, if you look at the Central African Republic and also the DRC, there has been political instability. And one of the concerns is as to who do they sell their uranium to and where does that end up? Vincent.
Now, very, very quickly, you have spoken probably to Africans who reside in Washington, D.C. What are they telling you, some of their concerns regarding this kind of issue?
I spoke to a cross-section of Africans, yes, here in Washington, D.C., and I spoke to one Nigerian woman who gave me a different perspective. She says Nigeria is also concerned about the number of students coming from Nigeria, going to Iran to take sciences, biology, technology, and what they plan to come back and do. There have been concerns raised about students pursuing sciences. Also, I spoke to a gentleman from Chad who also mentioned Libyan students going to the Middle East to study biology, sciences, and there has also been the same concern. I was surprised about the similar conversations about people from Nigeria and people from Libya, that they are actually concerned that these people could come back. It takes one bad guy to decide, you know what, we have uranium here, we can turn it into dirty bombs, and we can hand it over to the militants and the terrorists, and you know, the rest could be another very, very bad outcome.
Indeed, a concern for everyone. Esther, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, viewers, Esther Githui-Ewart reporting from Capitol Hill.